Chapter 9. There's more than one way to skin a casino. The casino is the game. How's the card counting coming along? Matt the pit boss says with a sarcastic grin. I can't tell if he's joking or not. If he knows I'm counting cards, it must be that my $10 betting unit is far from intimidating to him and his casino. If he's joking, all the better. Only a couple months into my career, I need time at the tables, not my first back off. I'm grinding it out at Iron Horse Casino, which is pretty much the same as every other joint at which I'm plying my new trade. One tiny perk is that they have a happy hour promotion where suited blackjacks pay 2A1, as do combinations of 6, 7, 8 and 7, 7, 7. It doesn't happen often, but when it does, I get an extra couple dollars, so that's nice. Plus, I like the breakfast I get comped after I play for a couple hours. Hey Annie, no school today? Matt says to the late 20-something brunette settling in next to me at the blackjack table. Not today. It's still midwinter break, she replies, pulling out 10 $100 bills. I've got a couple more days before we're back in school. Let's play some blackjack. From their banter, I piece together that Annie is a high school Spanish teacher. She apparently also has a weakness for high stakes blackjack. Well, at least high stakes for a tiny $100 max casino like this. After buying in for $1,000, in all black, she places $100 bets on 3 spots and continues that way for the next few hours. She's clearly not a card counter, since she's flat betting, rather than changing her bits with the count. It's tough seeing someone gamble like that. I know teachers don't make much. I'm hoping blackjack will end my substituting career forever. I can't imagine how much she must lose by playing that way. After a couple hours, right around the time that the happier promotion ends, Annie colors up a winner, saying she's hoping to be back tomorrow, and it's time for my free breakfast. 1 week later. Looks like you need to keep practicing your card counting, Matt says with his standard smart aleck grin. I'm back at Iron Horse trying to grow my bankroll little by little. By my calculation, I'm generating $7 an hour with my bet spread. But I'm building a solid foundation, so I couldn't be happier. In walks a man referred to only as D. He looks like he's somewhere between 30 and 45 years old. It's hard to tell with his giant beard and long bushy hair pulled back into a ponytail. He's wearing worn-out jeans and an army fatigue jacket. His thick European accent doesn't give me any clues. I wonder if he smuggles black market goods or is just unstable. When he sits down at the table, I scoot over a seat to make sure there's a 2-seat buffer between us. I don't want him pulling a knife on me if I screw up the cards. D buys in for $1,000 and immediately starts playing 3 spots of $100. Oh great, we've got another degenerate here, I think. Let's see how long before he blows through the stack of $100s in his pocket. Unlike Annie, D doesn't like to talk. He just plays quietly, quickly buying in more if he has a losing streak. At 10 o'clock, just as happy hour ends, D pushes his stack of black chips to the dealer and colors up. After D leaves the table, I remark to the dealer, wow, that guy got lucky and came out ahead. Yeah, he always plays like that. He must be up nearly 100 grand here. 6 months later, Sammy officially joins our team. He tells us about a game that he and a few other card counters have been crushing for over a year now. We're giddy with anticipation. Have you ever seen the happy hour promotion at Iron Horse? Yeah, I respond. I play there every week. Well, that game has an edge off the top. What does that mean? Jeff asks. It means you have the advantage at a true zero. You don't need to wait for a true one. You can simply flat bet the game and your EV is nearly 200 an hour. Wait, I say, something dawning on me. So you raise your bet at a true zero? Well, technically, you have the advantage until a true negative 1.5. I learned about it from a computer programmer who goes by the name of AD. He and his girlfriend Danny have been crushing it. I played on a team briefly with him and a couple other guys and he shared the game with me. My mind was blown. According to what Sammy was saying, the 2A1 suited blackjack bonus meant that you started every shoe with the EV equivalent of a true 3. This whole time, while I was waiting for a true 1, raising and lowering my bets like a good little card counter, I could have been flat betting the game like Annie and D and growing my bankroll way faster. It turned out D and Annie's story was even better than that. He was an out-of-work computer programmer and Danny was, indeed, a Spanish teacher. One day, D saw a match play coupon for $25 at a local casino, which matched his $25 bet with $25 of the casino's money if he won. Intuitively, it seemed like a good deal, so he started going twice a day, once on each shift, so they wouldn't know he was using it more than the once a day the casino allowed. He soon learned an altered basic strategy so that he was playing properly with his coupon, and he had Danny going twice a day to use it when she wasn't teaching. Eventually, they won enough money from the match plays to buy a $2,000 car. After a while, he began researching card counting, eventually learning how and teaching Annie. They continued playing, saving up enough for their first bankroll, and sometime later, I bumped into them both at the tables. Being self-taught, He wasn't the best card counter I've ever met, but as a computer programmer, he had the ability to calculate and exploit some of the odd promotions and or rules that popped up in the Seattle area, and he eventually quit her job, so they could play blackjack full-time. They logged more hours than any card counters I knew at the time, making 7 figures in only a couple years. The last I heard, they returned to Dee's native country and were living off the interest from the investments from their blackjack profits. Dee, Annie, and promotional games prove the rules stated in the title of this chapter. There is more than one way to skin a casino. Every rule, every offer, every promotion, and every card has an effect on your bottom line. Blackjack Hall of Fame member Richard Munchkin says correctly that too many card counters get tunnel vision when they walk into a casino. That's exactly what I was guilty of. I walked straight to the blackjack table, sat down, and played the one way I knew how, raising and lowering my bets proportionally with the count. I didn't consider the impact of the happy hour promotion on the game, missing out on thousands of dollars in the process. I want to be clear, 99% of the way my teams and I have made money is good old-fashioned card counting at traditional blackjack games. But I would be doing you a disservice if I didn't make it clear that a true advantage player thinks holistically when he or she walks into a casino. Missed opportunities from the church team era make me cringe when I think about them. Similarly, my teams and friends have made multiple hundreds of thousands by taking advantage of opportunities they find, either at the blackjack tables or in the casinos in general, that the average card counter might not see. Here are just a handful of opportunities beyond the EV that can be generated at a typical blackjack table. Comps at 6 a.m. at a rural tribal casino, and the breakfast buffet has just opened to an anxious crowd of elderly patrons. I'm hungry, but I'm also tired from playing blackjack all night. I figure that if I can get my breakfast comped, it's worth sticking around for another 30 minutes before heading home. So I make my way to the Players Club desk to ask if I have enough comp points to get the $15 buffet comped. You have 973 comp dollars. How much? I ask, a bit stunned. The Players Club lady repeats the number, just under $1,000. How many do I need for the buffet? The buffet is $15. So it takes 15 comp dollars. So you're saying every comp dollar can be used like cash in the casino? Is it just for food? No. You can also use your comp dollars in the gift shop and at the gas station. The gas station? So I can get nearly $1,000 worth of gas? Yes, sir. I couldn't believe it. Casinos calculate your comp rate based on a percentage of what they think you're worth to them. Your value at the tables, or slot machines, is called your theoretical, and algorithms calculate comps at a percentage of the theoretical value. So while I was betting up to 2 spots of $500 and generating close to $300 an hour in EV, the casino thought I was just gambling and was giving me over $100 an hour in comps. I'm convinced this casino was massively overcalculating my comp rate. This was like no comp value I'd seen before. Typically, I'd expect to get $100 toward a meal at the end of the night, but nothing like this. And comps at the buffet, deli, or even fine dining go only so far, as a person can eat only so much food. That's what made this situation so special. Not only was I getting way too much comp value, but I could use it towards something of absolute value, free gas. At the time, gas was creeping toward $3 a gallon in my area. I was happy to fill my tank at the casino's expense. But that was still thinking small. Once Jeff, Ben, and Sammy discovered what was going on, someone had the idea of buying a slew of 5-gallon gas cans so we could store gas at home. Cumulatively, we had nearly $10,000 in comp dollars, and Jeff had a truck. Once a month, we drove out to the casino to fill up his truck and grab another 200 gallons of free gas. Even when we got back off from the casino, it took us several months to use up our remaining comp dollars on gas. None of us had to pay a dime for gas the entire time. One minor downside was that we were basically an explosion in wheels waiting to happen, so I wouldn't necessarily recommend our methods. But it demonstrates that comps are yet another way to extract EV from casinos. I've been comped free flights, hotels, limousine rides to and from the airport, meals, show and sporting event tickets, bowling, tribal jewelry, and gift shop souvenirs. Players from the church team were comped Apple laptops, iPads, other electronics, shopping sprees, aircraft laser tag. You heard me right. They offered to fly one of our players around in an airplane to shoot at objects with a laser tag gun, and gift cards worth as much as $5,000. Some of our players who frequented casinos in the Midwest were making so much money from comps that they could live off of them for months at a time. My favorite comp of all is cashback. Some casinos allow you to redeem your comp points for cash. Adding any amount of EV in the form of cashback is a great perk. I know of teams that have exploited cashback as their primary advantage play. I don't want to divulge anyone else's secrets, but you can imagine that if you found a unique scenario where the cashback, during some sort of promotional period, was more than the negative EV to play a game, you'd have an edge off the top. No need to count cards, Just play as long as possible and get that cash back. This is how professional video poker works. To hear my interview with $1 Million Video Poker Pro Bob Dancer, go to blackjackapprenticeship.com/podcast interview with Bob Dancer/other ways to get cash as a comp is in the form of airfare reimbursement. I'll never forget my first trip to Las Vegas. It was a particularly rough first day. I arrived absolutely starving. I went to Slots of Fun, where I attempted to dine on a $1.50 foot-long hot dog. That was a huge mistake. I threw it away after one bite. Then I made my way to the Mirage, where I got absolutely pummeled. As I sat there losing shoe after shoe, they kept offering me things. "Can we get you anything?" The host who cut into me at the table wanted to know. "Sure, I'd love to get my airfare reimbursed." "Sorry, we can't do that. But let me get you set up with a suite and a comp to our finest restaurant." 30 minutes later I was down another $10,000. "Is there anything else we can get for you, Mr. Jones?" "I'd still like to get my airfare reimbursed." "No, I can't do that. But let me set you up with 2 comp tickets to our Cirque du Soleil show." 30 minutes later, I was down even more. "Is there anything else we can do for you, Mr. Jones?" "I'd love it if I could get my and my brother's airfare reimbursed." "Let me look into it." "How much was the airfare?" "About $500 each for myself and my brother," I said, handing him the tickets. 10 minutes later, he brought me to the cashier's cage to give me $1,000 cash. You might think, "Yeah, but you lost a lot more than $1,000. "That's true, but remember, we card counters always think in terms of EV. While I lost my shirt, I was generating positive EV, and sure enough, I got all my money back and more from Las Vegas over the long haul. I was generating $300 an hour and got an additional $1,000 from the casino. Casinos tend to offer airfare reimbursement only when you're losing badly, and even then, it's a less common comp than players could take advantage of 20 years ago. But it never hurts to ask. The best source of information on comps is the book Compsage: A Guide to Free Las Vegas Vacations by Max Rubin. It's a little dated now and available only as an ebook, but the fundamental concepts are powerful and still apply. Coupons. What the heck are those? Grace pointed to the stack of 50 women of Grand Central Casino swimsuit calendars on the living room floor. I was tearing the back page out of each calendar and tossing the rest of it in the trash. Each of these calendars is worth 200 in EV. The back page of the calendar had a number of coupons that could be used at the Grand Central Casino, including match plays, free bets, and a first card ace coupon. The ace coupon gives you a 50.5% edge. That alone was worth over $50 on a $100 bet. My wife still didn't seem convinced. But this was a huge deal for my first little 3-man blackjack team. The calendars cost $10 each, so with a $500 investment, we generated $10,000 in EV to help grow our bankroll. We would each simply swing by Grand Central Casino twice a day to use a couple coupons until they were all gone. You can get 2 main types of coupons from casinos: match plays and free plays. Match plays. A match play, the most common coupon, works exactly the way it sounds. With the coupon, the casino matches your bet. So with a $25 match play, you bet $25 of your own money. If you lose your $25, and the coupon. But if you win your own bet, plus an additional $25 for the match play. A match play is worth about 47 cents on the dollar when used at blackjack, though match plays are even more valuable at other games, which I'll get to a little later. Free plays. Free play comes in the form of vouchers good at slot machines or at table games with promotional chips. They act like a real bet, but you get paid only if you win. The first card ace is a unique form of free play, but it acts similarly in that you get paid if you win with a coupon, but lose the coupon if you lose the hand. Beyond coupons, for the first 6 years we played and ran teams, we simply played our coupons at the 21 tables. It felt like bonus money and blackjack was what we knew, so that's how we played. Oh, how ignorant we were. Then I discovered Beyond Coupons, a PDF by James Grosjean. Grosjean is considered the best currently active blackjack and advantage player in the world, was the youngest ever inductee into the Blackjack Hall of Fame, and was banned from the skills competition at the Blackjack Ball because he won it too many times. As compensation, the skills competition winner's trophy was named the Grosjean Cup. In Beyond Coupons, Grosjean breaks down the EV of the different types of coupons, as well as the best ways to play each one. When I read Beyond Coupons, I realized how many tens, if not hundreds, of thousands of dollars we left on the tables by not playing our coupons in optimal ways. Since then, I've referred my team members, friends, and colleagues to Grosjean's work. We never want to leave EV on the table while counting cards, so why would we leave any with a match play or promotional chip? The PDF is a bit mathy, but if you plan on using any form of coupon, it's worth taking the time to discover how to extract as much EV as possible. Beyond the associated EV, Coupons are valuable because of the low risk in using them. High EV and low risk? You've gotta be kidding me. It's true. When you have an opportunity to generate EV while having to put up only 50% of the risk, or even 0% of the risk, that's an advantage player's dream scenario. Of course, casinos generally know what they're doing with any sort of promotional offer they make. I say generally, because they make mistakes with their promotions, usually in the math. More often than you might think. They aren't handing out $1,000 in promotional chips to strangers off the streets, but they do offer lower value match plays to get new customers in the door. And for someone with time and hustle, like Dee and Annie, this can be used to build a bankroll. In the same vein as comps, if a casino deems your patronage valuable, they tend to become much more generous with their offers. For example, after getting clobbered at one particular Las Vegas casino, I began receiving offers from them in the mail every month: a comp suite, $200 in dining credit, and $1,000 in promotional chips to be used at any of the casino chain's properties. I researched the best way to use the promotional chips and beyond coupons and generated about $730 in EV. But here's the kicker: I started planning my trips to overlap months, so I could use 2 offers in one go. I booked a room at one of the properties for the last 2-3 days of a month, then booked a room at another for the first 2-3 days of the next month. That way, I was generating $1,460 in EV and covering my hotel rooms for a 4 to 6 day trip. Of course, the real EV on a trip came from the blackjack tables. But to make more than $1,000 and cut my travel expenses before even stepping up to a table wasn't too shabby. One of the best coupon sources is the Las Vegas Advisor newsletter. The publisher of the LVA is also the publisher of this book. LVA members get a yearly member rewards book, MRB, with 130 or so coupons for discounts on all sorts of things in Las Vegas. About 40 of the offers are gambling bonuses, all with positive EV. LVA calculates the value of the gambling coupons every year, and the most recent MRB had a total mathematical value of $559, with $65 of it in pure free play. A membership is $37 or $50. See the back of this book for more information. A second source is a book called The American Casino Guide, which has coupons bound in $18.95/$9.95 for an abbreviated coupons-only version. They aren't as valuable overall as LVAs, but they're good, and the coupons are for casinos both in Las Vegas and in other casino cities around the US. Even between my wife and me, our handful of fun comp stories pale in comparison to those of other card counter friends. Church team members Brian and Amy, yes, the same Brian and Amy from Chapter 1E, regularly received gift cards from Caesar's Palace for upwards of $5,000. They could be used only at the forum shops at Caesar's, so they bought flat-screen TVs and other expensive electronics they could sell on eBay or Craigslist. That way, they converted $5,000 in gift cards into roughly $3,000 in cash. They also kept some of the stuff. The last time I talked to Brian, he said they were still using a comp TV. A few other AP moves. Loss rebates are rare, but that doesn't mean they don't exist. Perhaps the most famous advantage play move in blackjack history was when a high-stakes gambler, Don Johnson, beat Atlantic City for $15 million by exploiting loss rebates. How does it work? The casino offers to return a percentage of your losses if you agree to play a certain amount and according to specified terms. In the case of Johnson, the casinos were so desperate for high-stakes players, also known as whales, that they offered to give back 20% of his losses. Don also worked hard to negotiate favorable rules and playing conditions. Any win was a win, and any loss was discounted in his favor. At the end of the day, he had a 0.26% edge over the house, and with his $100,000 bets, his EV per session was $125,000. When my first small team of 3 players had grown its bankroll to roughly $50,000, we discovered that the Point Casino in Kingston, Washington, was offering a loss rebate. The size of the rebate depended on how much you lost: 10% on a loss of up to $500, 15% up to $1,000, and a whopping 25% rebate up to a $5,000 loss. So we took the ferry ride over to the casino, and each of us tried to win or lose $5,000 as quickly as possible. This gave us nearly a 1% edge over the house, with a per session EV of over $500. That's nothing compared to what Don Johnson worked out in Atlantic City. But for us, $500 was roughly 5-10 hours worth of EV at a normal game. The pit boss, whom everyone referred to as Turk, nodded his head at us and said, "I know what you're up to." In fact, he had no idea. We clearly weren't changing our bets. We just played straight up blackjack at $500 per hand until we were up or down $5,000. He figured we were up to something, but couldn't put it all together. Eventually, they lowered the payouts and it was no longer worth the drive. But not before we generated $15,000 in EV over the course of a month. It turned out another blackjack team was also crushing the loss rebate, so we weren't solely responsible for its demise. Side bets. Most blackjack tables offer some sort of side bet, with a house edge anywhere from 3% to over 12%. Side bets are an easy way for casinos to suck more profits out of gamblers. Occasionally, however, a side bet can be preyed upon. Both Lucky Ladies and the Royal Match are vulnerable to the high-low count, giving a player the edge at a true 6.5, or true 7 to be safe. Obviously, you won't get rich from either of them, but it can be a way to get a little more rev if you can stomach the variance involved. Other side bets can be exploited by learning a different count altogether. A few years back, I read about the Slingo bonus bet 21. I spoke with fellow BJA Project about it and we threw together a bankroll with a third card counter. The challenge was that we had to teach ourselves a new count, but the beauty was that we were making more than $100 an hour betting $5. I was mostly interested in doing something new, but $100 an hour for $5 bets sounded great, too. Eventually, someone working for the casino recognized me and backed me off, but not before we beat them for $5,000. BJA Pro The Phoenix has a remarkable side bet story. A few of us had heard about a unique side bet called Red Flex at some California card rooms. None of us had bothered to try it until the Phoenix took it on. He taught himself the unique, but incredibly simple, counting system for this specific side bet, then went to try it. The first and second casinos quickly told him he couldn't play there. The third one let him play. He plugged away, 40 hours a week. Initially, he wasn't winning, so he considered giving up on it. But he kept grinding and in one big payout, the math caught up with him. He kept playing, eventually taking a nearby apartment because of this single side bet. For 10 months, he beat the side bet at a single casino for over $300,000. They eventually told him they couldn't take his action. By this point, he was more than ready to take his winnings and head back to Hollywood to pursue his passion, filmmaking. To hear my podcast interview with the Phoenix, go to blackjackapprenticeship.com/podcast interview the Phoenix side bet / summing up the skinning of casinos. For some people, card counting is the gateway to other forms of advantage play. Some brilliant people have found myriad ways to beat casinos at their own games. Though I've dabbled, this has not been the case for me. 99% of the money my teams and I have won has been from good old-fashioned card counting. For years, we've heard that the real money is in more advanced plays like hole carding, shuffle tracking, and ace sequencing. I've had the privilege of knowing a lot of advantage players, some of whom have made a lot of money from things like hole carding or machine play. But many of the most successful advantage players I know, like Tommy Hyland, are making their money at card counting. To me, a lot of the difference comes down to personal preference. Do you want to spend hours searching for a game with a higher edge? If so, look into Elliot Jacobson's book, Advanced Advantage Play, or James Grosjean's Exhibit K, Beyond Counting. Do you want to walk into 90% of casinos and be able to generate positive EV? Then stick with card counting. Do you want a diverse set of tools in your tool belt, so you can walk into a casino and have multiple opportunities to generate EV? Master card counting, and when you've got 500 hours under your belt, start learning additional forms of advantage play. Card counting is a mathematical way of beating the casinos, but as Munchkin advises, beware of tunnel vision. The astute disciplined investor looks for every mathematical way to beat the casinos at their own games. While traditional card counting is the bread and butter that has allowed my teams, my friends, and me to make money, the smart AP keeps his or her head up and makes sure to be aware of every opportunity to extract EV from a casino. Pay attention to every rule change, promotion, coupon and comp offer, side bet, and whatever other opportunity might pop up in a casino. You don't need to become a hole carder, learn new counts to exploit side bets, or even play rated for comps, though you'll have more fun if you do, but it helps to know what your options are. You don't want to look back, as I sometimes do, and rue all the expected value that, simply through ignorance, we left behind. From card counter to advanced Opaj note. How long have you been an AP? I started learning how to beat East Blackjack in May of 2012. How did you get into advantage play? I saw a crazy documentary on Net9 about a team of regular guys beating casinos for millions called Holy Rollers. How long did you count cards before delving into other plays? In the very beginning, I was intrigued by other ways people had found to beat casinos, so it was always in the back of my mind to be on the lookout for more subtle ways to beat them. What attracted you to more advanced plays? I think my personality type gets more jollies out of sneaking around and getting away with something, rather than the prototypical card counter who operates in the more detectable realms. For a card counter, you almost make more money by being more obvious. The more aggressively you are spreading, the more you make, which is completely awesome. Nothing against it. What are the pros and cons to advanced plays? I think there are a lot of pros and cons to both ways of beating casinos. Card counters need a thick skin and resilience to bankroll swings. Advanced APs need good networking skills and a lot of time to scout. The biggest mistake people make when trying to get into other ways of beating casinos is thinking there's a bigger pot of gold waiting for them at the end of the rainbow. There might be some crazy good game out there waiting for you to indie it, but unless you're committed to becoming an above average networker, I'd say the pot of gold in front of you, that is, card counting, is worth more. I don't think advanced APs make any more money than card counters. In fact, if someone asked me what he should play if he wanted to make a lot of money really quickly, I'd tell him to count cards and spread like peanut butter. The path here has more to do with your goals, what you indie interesting, and how much time you have to play. Card counters can count part-time or full-time or in between with not a single person in their personal network. Advanced APs kind of always have to be on the prowl, or at least have really good friends out there prowling. Good opportunities don't last long, so you have to be ready to put the money out when you find something. And if you aren't looking, you won't find it. Finally, I don't think these things have to be mutually exclusive. You don't have to put yourself in a box. I counted cards for years. While dabbling in other things I found I could beat. Only the last 2 years have been primarily non-counting plays. There might seem to be a lot of birds in that bush, but the bird in the hand is always good old card counting, and that was plenty good enough for me for most of my career. I also consider it the best training ground for launching into anything else UCT. Do you think card counting is a waste of time compared to more advanced plays? Nope. Card counting is really practical. Most casinos OI irises negation or beatable games, so a card counter has the advantage when it comes to finding something to play. Card counting also OI irises negation or is a lot more scalability, in my opinion. If card counters want to make more money, they just bet more. They're going to get thrown out either way, so they can decide how much they make in a lot of ways. The typical advanced AP uses up a lot of energy trying to determine how quickly to boil the frog, and if the frog will notice it's being boiled, or if the frog even knows water can get that hot, or if the frog will jump out if we even try to raise the temperature. In other words, since advanced APs are generally trying to get away with something, there tends to be an invisible table max that keeps the game alive, but doesn't make a spectacular amount of hourly when it's all said and done. Then again, sometimes that frog will let itself boil all day and ask you to come boil him again tomorrow. What advice would you give to someone new to card counting? Advantage player who wants to have a large repertoire of skills to beat a casino. Become a student and start networking. Go to casinos and just look around at what they OI irises negation or join forums and ask questions. Learn how to beat video poker. Learn how to beat side bets. A lot of resources online can get you started, especially for video poker. From there, you can indie other directions to go. What should people be aware of before going out and trying more advanced skills? People who call themselves advanced APs tend to look down on card counters as a whole. Expect a lot of resistance when it comes to networking with APs who are well connected in the advanced community. And don't take everyone at face value. People go to great lengths to protect the games they've found. Don't expect them to share anything with you if you don't have something of equal or greater value to share with them. What's the biggest AP play you've made? My favorite is when I won almost $40,000 on a single hand. The most fun part about it was that I was betting $1 on the meter jackpot, just for the sake of cover and looking like the rest of the players at the table, which means about $13,000 of that win was just straight gambling on the jackpot at the right time, but the rest was a well-calculated bet. Anything else I'm missing? Maybe any life lessons you've learned from your time as an AP? Anything else you want to share or answer? I think becoming an advantage player has taught me a lot of valuable lessons about life and business. Learning how to make good bets instead of winning money is probably the single most valuable thing I've taken away. The concept of generating EV without worrying about short-term results is often the solution to many of life's most irises negation cult challenges. I believe it's reduced my stress and increased my irises negation activeness all across the board. Don't try to force a sale, just make another appointment. Don't run a marathon, just take the next step. When we focus on generating EV, the results are inevitable, which makes the variance tolerable. Happy counting out there.